It was supposed to be just another boring hike in the woods until we found the abandoned cabin. And that is when the shadows started moving. So, let me take you back to one of the craziest weekends of my life. This happened about 3 years ago with me and two of my buddies, Kyle and Sam. We had just gotten back from a long semester at university, and we were all looking for some peace and quiet. So, what did we decide to do? We went hiking in the mountains. You know, the classic way to get away from it all. We set out early on a Saturday morning, and the whole day was beautiful, clear skies, fresh air, the kind of day that makes you feel like everything is just perfect. We did not think much about the fact that we were pretty far off the beaten path, just a small trail we had heard about from some locals. But here is where things got weird. About 4 hours into the hike, we stumbled across this abandoned cabin. Now, I know what you are thinking. It is just a cabin, no big deal. But there was something about it that did not sit right with me. The windows were dark, the roof was caved in at one side, and the front door was hanging off its hinges like it had not been touched in decades. But the weirdest part, there was no sign of decay around the cabin itself. It was like someone had just left it there, frozen in time. Kyle, being Kyle, of course, wanted to go inside. He is the kind of guy who, if you told him a place was cursed, he would walk right in. Sam, on the other hand, had that feeling you get when something is not right. You know, that instinct in the pit of your stomach telling you to get the hell out of there. But Kyle convinced him, so we all went in. And this is where things took a turn. The inside of the cabin was not like anything I had ever seen before. There were no signs of animals or weather damage, like you would expect. The floors were strangely clean, the walls covered in odd symbols I had never seen before, and in the back corner of the room, there was a ladder leading down into a basement. No lights, just the blackness below. Now, I was starting to get that feeling too. I wanted to leave, but Kyle was already halfway down the ladder. Sam and I exchanged a look, one of those silent should we follow him moments. But of course, we did. So down we went into the pitch-black basement. The basement smelled musty, and the air was thick. But it was not the air that chilled me, it was the walls. They were covered in more symbols, drawn in what looked like blood. I do not even know. I tried not to think about it, but then I heard something. A scraping sound coming from somewhere deeper in the basement. And that is when the shadows moved. Now, when I say the shadows moved, I do not mean a trick of the light. I mean the dark corners of the room, the dark places I thought were just shadows. They shifted, like something was creeping in the darkness, getting closer. And when I turned to Kyle, who was still inspecting the strange markings on the wall, I saw it. Just behind him, a shape tall and thin, emerging from the shadows. I froze. I could not move, could not breathe. Sam whispered, "Dude, what the hell is that?" And that is when the thing turned. It was not human, not by any stretch of the imagination. Its limbs were unnaturally long, its face was pale, almost glowing, with these dark hollow eyes. And it smiled. Now, Kyle finally turned around, and when he saw it, he panicked. He bolted for the ladder, and we did not waste a second. We ran, full sprint, back up those steps, out the door, and into the forest. We did not stop running until we reached the main trail. We got back to the car, no one said a word for the longest time. We just sat there in silence, listening to the wind rustling through the trees. When we finally spoke, Sam said it best, we should not have gone in there. We never talked about that cabin again. And to this day, I still do not know what we saw down there. But one thing I am sure of, whatever it was not supposed to be in that cabin. It was like something ancient and wrong had been waiting for us. And if you ever find yourself out in the woods and you see an abandoned cabin that feels like it is watching you, just turn around. Trust me, you do not want to know what is inside.